And thanks for joining me on another episode of Design and a Half. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a subject that sort of came up the last couple of days, or the last week actually, and the last week, sorry. It's sort of about juniors, and the reason why I wanted to make this video was to sort of address my dissatisfaction with the fact that a lot of companies are just not hiring enough juniors on the basis of the fact that they don't have enough experience. However, the main problem with this is that they need to get some place to get their internship with, to be able to have that experience in order to progress further in their career and actually get to a place where they can be hired. And here's my take on the thing. Like, we need to drop the whole situation with the please give me some, for them to have experience. It's so freaking stupid, man. Like, how is someone supposed to have experience coming out of the school's gates? They have no fucking experience whatsoever. Like, it's not possible to demand stuff that's unreasonable of people who just came out of school. How are we supposed to do that? It's so frustrating. I mean, if I was to think about myself when I started design, I did so back in 2008, and the first company that I worked for knew that I didn't have anything to show for, or anything to sort of prove in terms of experience. Like, I just had my portfolio of stuff that I did while I was in school and some stuff that I did just sort of out of passion. But they never actually told me, dude, like, you have to have at least one year of experience before I hire you. Like, come on, man. Are you what's wrong with you? What's freaking wrong with you? Like, when you guys started out, did someone tell you gotta have experience? If you don't have experience, I'm not going to hire you if you were a junior. Come on, no. That's bullshit. Stop doing this. Instead of doing this, rather take those people and try to hire them because they're passionate, because we need more people who are passionate in this industry, in design in general. Because all we have right now is a bunch of people who got sort of sucked in because it's making you a lot of money, and this is not what design is about. Design is about passion. Design is also about fixing problems. If you're passionate about problems, then yeah, just go ahead, make yourself a designer, become a designer. But don't come into design if you don't love problems, if you just like want to do it to stroke your ego. Fuck that. No, don't do it. Just get into design because you love helping people, and because you want to do something which is positive for the entire world. Don't do it just because of money. Okay, the money is probably good as well, and I can attest to that, but that's not why you should be doing design. I just got a little bit carried away. The thing is, I really get passionate about design because I got into this job just because I love it so much. I didn't get into this because the money was good. It was actually shit when I started. I was making a dime over all of the stuff that I knew. I was making it wasn't even close to how much I'm making right now. But all of that just came out of experience. It was built up. It wasn't happening like in a jiffy. And the problem I have right now is the fact that a lot of people have this expectation that design should give you, and basically all of the jobs in general should just make you become a senior overnight. It's not going to happen, for fuck's sake. It's not. Like, stop hoping for that shit to happen. It's not even feasible. Like, just think about the fact that experience basically is a reflection of how much work you've made during your career. If all you've worked on were small projects and stuff that's not necessarily as valuable as bigger projects and has a lot of weight to it, how can you expect to become a freaking senior in like 1 year or so? That's stupid. Like, whoever promotes you is a bigger dickhead than you are. I'm sorry, but that's not how this shit works. That's not how I became a senior. I became a senior after having my ass worked off for a long time to be able to make my own decisions and justifications for every design decision that I do. And whenever I do and say something, it has weight to it. Why? Because I can motivate it. I can have and I can bring reasons for why I did that stuff. It doesn't look good, and 90% of the time, the design I make is like that just because I sort of self-censor it. It's not beautiful because I choose to make it ugly, if you will. It doesn't look like on Dribble because there's functionality behind it that limits the fact that that specific piece of graphic doesn't look amazing. It's because there's some limitations behind it. It's because some stuff is just not possible to be done from a technical perspective. That's why some things need to look ugly. And the problem is that people idealize design so much and transformed it into this job that is all about the aesthetics and not about the problems and not about the solutions and not about the finality of design. It sort of got stuck in between the message that you're making something beautiful and sort of broadcasting it to a lot of people, and it's false. It's not like that. Design is not broadcasting anything. Design is about solving a problem, and this is actually something which I want younger generations of designers to understand. You need to have a functional side to design. You cannot just make shit that looks beautiful for Dribble. Like, fuck that shit. Nobody cares about that. If you do it, just do it because you have a little bit of time on your hands and you, I don't know, want to create something which just looks nice, but that's it. Don't put it on your portfolio. I think having Dribble show up in your portfolio is the biggest detriment that you can do to yourself as a designer. Don't do it. Just put stuff on Dribble. I mean, from my point of view, Dribble should have been there to showcase design which is not really finished, like stuff that's in progress. And that was the real reason why Dribble became popular and the reason why Dribble started to exist in the first place. However, it got sort of pulled apart and became this platform a lot like Facebook, where people compete for likes and shares, and it's sort of a way to transform yourself into an attention whore and idealize design when it's not the case. But getting back to the discussion at hand, which is not necessarily about Dribble, it's about the junior designers. And I think companies need to hire more junior designers because those juniors need guidance. And we need to be able to breed a new generation of designers without the problems that we currently have with the existing generation of designers. Because there's plenty of them who don't know jack shit about what they're doing, and they're sort of making decisions on products which have multiple users attached to them. They fail just because they don't have those products fail because those designers don't have the necessary experience whenever they're making decisions. They don't know how to interpret the data. They just like to do stuff instinctively, not necessarily intentionally, and they do not know how to read people. They don't know a lot about psychology, a lot of them. They just don't want to read about psychology. They would rather read about doing 5 or 6 design innovation labs, doing design thinking workshops, or doing design sprints, rather than read about psychology. And one of the biggest tips that I could give to juniors is please read your psychologies. Like, if you have the time, dedicate it to understanding other people, dedicate it to understanding how people work in general, because you will be addressing them on a constant basis. You'll be constantly talking to people through what the hell you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So you need to know and understand how the mind works. You need to see how people work, how they think, what their thought patterns are, what their action patterns are. And to this extent, I can actually give you a tip which might sound weird, but it's really, this particular tip really helped me. Observe people, even if it's in movies, even if it's in, like, whatever you can. Observe people and see how they react. Observe their reactions as related to impulses they get, how they react when someone tells them a story, how they react when someone gives them some news, whatever it is. Like, try to understand the thought patterns that are going through people's heads. Try to be more sort of awoken about yourself as well as other people. Like, try to think about what it is that it makes them do that. What's their motivation behind? Try and think of sort of like a detective if you want to, even if it's maybe that's too much saying like a detective, but try to analyze their thought patterns and think about what could motivate others to do specific things. This could help you get into the mindset of a person. It's not the 100% way and the surefire way to design for absolutely anyone, but it's certainly better than just like spitballing and sort of trusting people with their gut and saying this is important because I think it's important. No, it should be important because a person that would be in that sort of a situation that product is designed for, it should make sense for that specific person. And I'm really sorry if I'm struggling to make sense. It's because since English is not my native language, I'm struggling to keep up. Like, my English is struggling to keep up with my thought patterns and my sort of my flow, my mental flow. And even if it's my sort of my third language and I'm able to sort of express myself properly in English, I still have issues trying to properly materialize all the thoughts in my head with the same frequency and the same speed that I think them in my natural language, which is Romanian. Obvious. It's the same for basically anyone who's a non-native English speaker, I guess. But getting back on the topic at hand, I don't really get why there's this hate of juniors and why people are so sort of holding back on hiring more juniors. We definitely need more juniors, and I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially in this current situation, for people to hire juniors just because, and I don't mean this to sort of sound like shitty or bad, but juniors are sort of cheap if you think about it. They are cheap for your company. You don't have to make a huge financial commitment towards them. All you have to do is make an educational commitment towards them. Like, think of them as a sort of investment that pays dividends in the long run. It doesn't pay right now, it pays in the long run. And it's a way to sort of create and build up a culture in your company. Because nowadays culture is actually really important. And if you think about it, a company that hires and adds a lot of juniors to their roster does so because it's thinking of investing in these people in the future and actually investing in design. It's a company that understands that design has a strategic role within any company's sort of future in terms of product, in terms of services added, and so on. Like, we need to make sort of, and companies sort of need to make more conscious decisions about this, instead of just saying, oh, I'm just going to hire 5 seniors and I'm going to drag the living shit out of them just by giving them 5 or 6 projects to handle at the same time because they can pull it off. Like, fuck you, no. Why should we take that stuff just because we are able to? It doesn't mean we should be okay with it. And why I'm saying this is because a lot of companies actually do this right now. And it's sort of pissing me the fuck off, because why am I not supposed to live my life just because your company wants to make a quick buck out of me? Like, I can help you grow a mature product, but that doesn't mean that I have to beat my ass every day just doing it. I can do it at a normal sort of pattern or schedule if you want to. We don't have to blow up our lives to do it. Like, and it's funny because all of this is just sort of it's a byproduct of the fact that we have this rapid consumption life cycle, and this is what's actually putting us through this whole pressure cooker, both as designers and professionals in general. It doesn't matter if you're a designer, a developer, or whatever the fuck you are. It doesn't matter. No, it's the main reason why it happens is because we have a rapid consumption life cycle. So we have one product right now, the next product comes out in the next year. Like, why can't we just like make longer product life cycles? It used to be like that. Why did they get so fucking contracted all of a sudden? Like, during the last 10 years or so, I think products just became released on a daily basis, even physical products. It used to be just reserved for software products, which sort of made sense because software products could probably be condensed and be made so that they are released faster. But in case of hardware products and of physical products, it's like, why does this shit happen? Why are we so sort of in this rapid spin to consume more products and put more pressure on ourselves just because we want to look cooler and stuff like that? Because in the end, if you think and if you boil it down to the bedrock of it all, it's all about being inadequate. It's all about me or you or the other person trying to compare ourselves and seeing, whoa, this guy has more than I do, so I have to buy that stuff, so I don't feel inadequate. And that basically drives consumption, and that basically also drives our needs to be to produce to create products in a faster way and ship them out faster, just because there's more competition. There's more people wanting to become entrepreneurs because they want to be independent, because they want to be free, but they are actually not. Because here's what the fuck is going down. Whenever you're creating your own company, you're going to have to work your ass off to be able to afford that freedom. And you're basically going to be trapped within that company, you as owner, to be able to afford to keep the company open. You're going to have to spend all of your living time to be able to think about, how can I generate more revenue? Does the revenue that I have mean that I have enough to pay my people? Is this revenue enough to generate to also have some profit to put on the side if shit goes wrong? That's a lot of pressure if you think about it. It's a lot of pressure that you put yourself up to it just because you've listened to 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 motivational speakers, like videos on the internet, and saying, you gotta become independent. Look at me. How successful am I going around, and how happy I am to just travel around the world and take photos in exotic places and be at conferences and people like adoring me. It's this false image that social media has also projected onto us, that we need to be in competition with each other to be able to be happy. And that's the fallacy of it all. We don't. And whenever we are in a competition with someone else, we're being unhappy because we already feel inadequate. And that's what's driving us to buy more shit that we just don't need, and to get better paid jobs that we might not enjoy, and work in companies that we don't really care about or even want to be there. Like, it's a well-known fact. There's a lot of people that have worked in Google and Apple and sort of in all of these large companies that weren't happy there just because they did so out of the fact that they needed those companies on their CVs. They didn't really want to be in those companies. They just wanted to be on their CV so they can move on to the next company, so they can move up the company ladder faster. And basically that's one thing that I might be sort of guilty of, because I was always thinking about the fact that, man, I should land a job at Google, I should land a job at Facebook, at a huge company, because it's going to make me happy, because I'm going to have a lot of money and travel and stuff like that. And it's the fucking same mindset with everyone. That's the pipe dream that's being sold to all of us. It's not only sold to me, it's not only sold to you, it's sold to everyone. That's why we're sort of working our asses off every day in some situations in places we don't love, just to be able to afford the lifestyle that we don't really have, or will never probably have, instead of making stuff that we want to, and sort of stop judging us, and focus on stuff that's important for us, like creating things. For me personally, the reason why I started design was to create stuff and to be able to help people. Those are my biggest motivations why I got into design. And here's the kicker: I never did actually any of them. I just sort of did it for the first part for a little while. But the thing is, right now I'm on a personal quest to find whatever it is that I love again, just because design sort of not only got trivialized, but it got up until this point where design no longer matters. It's sort of done by absolutely anyone, and it's sort of lost its value for me personally, because I think when I did design, back when I started to do design, I actually enjoyed it because I was really attracted to the aspect of sort of aesthetics. But now I'm coming to the conclusion that aesthetics matter less than the outcome. And I'm sort of, my problem is that I'm contributing to a world by my work that is basically just spinning all over the place, and I'm sort of contributing to an industry which sells pipe dreams to people, and I don't want to do that. I want to be true, and if it's possible, I want to try and help people. And that's actually why I started to make these videos, and why I'm starting to sort of share my thoughts with people on that are looking at these videos. I don't want to die and think about what I could have done if I was listening to myself and my own instincts, rather than just follow logic and think about, well, yeah, it makes more sense to make this because it gives you more money and stuff like that. I don't want to follow money that much. I want to follow sort of independence at some point. I do want independence, I'm not going to lie. But I would love more to have the freedom and the contempt of being able to do something that I enjoy doing. And for me, it was when I was back in school, when I was back in my junior years, I loved doing photo manipulations. That was my thing, and actually photography. The problem is I don't really have that much time to do it right now, and I sort of miss that terribly. It's a reason why all of the phones that I got had like really good cameras and stuff like that, because I'm using my phone, my camera, my GoPro. Like I even bought a lot of photo gear just because I love photography, but I'm sort of frustrated by the fact that when I get off from work, I have zero fucking time to do it. Like I don't have time to work on photography because I'm spending time either with my kids or my family, or I'm working, and this sort of pisses me off because at some level I still want to do it. I still want to do photography. I still want to do photo manipulations, but I can't do it just because my job keeps me captive in it. Captive to a certain degree that I can't escape it without losing financial sort of independence at some point. So, and here's the kicker. I think a lot of people have the same problem I do. And my advice to juniors is be really, really, really careful when you're choosing your job. Make sure to do something which you at least enjoy doing. If possible, do something you love. And be careful about people who sell you pipe dreams and sort of try to convince you to do it for the money. Don't do it for the money. It's going to sort of eat you up at some point. Or at least if you're the type of person who thinks about stuff and sort of digests it and sort of ruminates over it, don't do it to feed an ego or to be in comparison or in competition with others. Just do it because you love it, because you see value in it, and because you envision yourself doing this for the coming 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is. Like, that's the reason why you should pursue a special career, or any career in general. Don't do it just because of the money. That's the dumbest thing you can do. Money is important, that's true, but it's only important if you let it be important. And I'm actually trying myself to be able to detach myself more from the money side. However, and this is funny, at some point you really get hung on the whole money side, and it sort of coils around you like a cage, and you can't escape it anymore because you're used to a specific lifestyle, and either you dial back and you feel sort of pressured by the fact that you've certainly lost a lot of privileges that you previously had, or you go ahead and keep the status quo and keep the money. That's up to you. And in closing, since we're sort of approaching the end of this episode, if I ever open up a company, I'd really love to have a lot of juniors work for me, just because it sort of reminds me of the passion that I used to have when I started design. And this is something out for the people that are watching this video, or for the people that are watching this video and have started to design themselves, especially those people who are hiring designers. Don't hire people that don't love what they do. Don't hire robots. Don't hire people who, and especially don't make it only about the process. Don't make it about sort of the portfolio. Try to go beyond this. Whenever you have discussions with juniors, don't necessarily make it all about the experience, because what fucking experience can these kids have? Talk about their passions, what they love. And you guys, if you're juniors and listening to this, please be genuine in interviews. Don't try to tell people what they want to hear. Me personally, what I hate the most is when people try to sort of sell me off this lie that they are loving what they are doing, and when I'm looking at their portfolio, it's easy to see that they don't. They don't invest the time into their craft, into those small, minute details that make the whole difference. That tells me you're passionate about design. The amount of work you invest into crafting your something, even if it's I don't know, making a one pager, if you will, and give me some of the backstory that tells me who you are, how you came to be as a designer, how you chose this profession. That tells me if you're passionate about it or not. And please don't lie. Try to be truthful, because you're only lying to yourself. If I hire you and I see you're not going to do well just because you're not passionate about it and you're in it just for the money, it's going to show off in your work. And I'm not going to probably keep you on my team. I don't want people who are not passionate, if I'll ever be hiring, because right now I'm not, and I don't have a company, so whatever. But the point here is that you as companies should be looking for people who are passionate about what they are doing, not only people who are technically excellent or give you what the story you want to hear. I can give you the exact same story you would like to hear from me, but that doesn't mean that I'm a great designer, and that doesn't mean that I might be even a good fit for your company. If your company is so focused on processes that it does not give a shit about people or their free time, or the fact that they might have anything else to do aside from applying to your job, then fuck your company, man. Go to hell. I don't need to work for you. I can just work for myself and do whatever other stuff I can. And you should have this sort of, this is my advice to you. Take it if you want to. If not, that's up to you. Like, again, do what makes you happy, and sort of try to go in places where culture is focused around people, not around the process. And you can actually tell this by the interview questions they pose you. Okay then, this was all for today's video and today's podcast episode. I hope you liked it. If you did, please subscribe or share, or maybe comment, Maybe leave a like if you liked it. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye, guys.